There we go. Hey, Deirdre. Want to listen to some more bullshit? Okay, here we go. Listen, I came in with a complaint.
Yep.
What was it? Last spring? Me and a guy came in.
You're going to talk about your complaint.
My complaint? No, not my complaint.
Okay.
Is the issue of social development forcing you to take your pension when you're 60. Oh, by the way, that's the ombudsman. Where are you? 80% useless?
I don't know the percentage. I can't keep track of the stock. It's a buy or a sell these days.
With the corona,
Yeah.
well, it's up to 90.
Up
Okay,
to 90, yeah.
Because you're in the dark here, nobody
Yeah.
knows where. I couldn't even get to the goddamn door. If we had a hard time at EOG. So anyway, no. If you're 60, social development for newcomers, call me 6 months and said,
Yeah.
in January, said, Charles, my caseworker,
Yeah.
and said, you have to, hello, how's it going? No, you're going to be 60 years old in August. Oh, yes? Thanks for reminding me. You have to take your pension, and I have to, which I'll be penalized for taking it when I'm 65.
Right.
And what they do is take cent by cent away from my welfare check. They don't say, do you want to keep $40, $50? This was before the corona thing.
Yeah.
And then corona. Then we went here, we put a complaint that I appeal it, and this woman, Kathleen Ford, which I will mention names, a worker, degraded me in front of this panel. And I didn't know that. And people that calls the caseworker, it's all recorded. And they don't say anything you say will be held against you during the hearing. That's another issue.
Yeah.
But you're totally useless anyway. So, Charlie, shut up. So, no, wish Charlie. So the bottom line is, the panel said they're allowed to take cent by cent. So during the coronavirus, people on social assistance that was 60 years old, they had no help from the federal government. They had no help from the provincial government. They had no help. They didn't receive 1 cent, and then they couldn't go out to get food or whatever. So, you agree with that, or?
So you just said that you came in and made a complaint about that.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, you recognize that if anyone comes to me with a complaint, it's confidential.
This Privacy Act, but it's
Okay.
never confidential
Well,
with me.
my question to you is
What?
are you asking me to tell the people that watch your blog about your complaint? Is that what you're asking me to
I
do?
told you that.
You're giving me permission to do that.
I told you if you come up with a report, you got permission to
Okay.
use my name.
If I come up with a report, but what if my report isn't done yet? Do you still want me to talk
No,
about that on the air?
go ahead.
Okay. Well,
No.
I want to be clear, right?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, no, because the reason the issue intrigued me when you came in is because of the issues you raised, the equities of that issue, right? The fairness aspect. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's the business we're trying to be in, is to make recommendations for government to be more fair.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to determine exactly how that works. And there's moving parts in that, right? There's a pool of federal money, there's a pool of provincial money, and whenever you got those two branches, I've only got scope over the provincial part, so I gotta see how that piece is working and what the rules are. Comparison with different provinces to see how that is working. And then the question that I'm trying to get the answer to is that actually helping the taxpayer any? In other words, is the government saving money on that? And if the government's saving money on it, how much is it? So, I'll take an example of a person who is receiving assistance. Let's choose two paths. One of them is that person, we would wait for them to receive their benefits the time anybody would, and that way they don't take a decreased benefit. The other one is the policy you've described.
Yeah.
Now, as an individual, that decision for me is left up to me, right? So I can decide, well, look, it's often the case with any pension plan, right? The longer you wait, the better your benefits will be, but of course they're starting later, so compensate them out. My question is, because in a normal situation, you're making that trade-off, okay? In this situation, you're not getting a trade-off.
Nothing.
Your check is staying the same.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, and that's the part I want to understand. What's the incentive in terms of your situation, right? So I look at it from the perspective, of the system, because that's who I've got to convince, right? All I can do is recommend it.
I know.
I say to them, listen, this person, take someone who's on assistance at the age of 60. It's very unlikely they're not going to be on assistance at the age of 67, right? I mean,
I thought it was 65.
right. Well, but I'm just choosing a number.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Like so unless you buy a lottery ticket or something happens, you're not likely to have a big influx of cash that you say, oh well, at 60 I had to be on assistance, but at 68 suddenly I was home.
Yeah, what they do is that I say parents died, and
Right.
then next thing you know they got a bunch
It's
of money,
possible.
and then they say, okay, your housing,
It's possible.
you got to go up. No, I seen it.
Yeah.
Housing, your rent, you're off housing,
Mm-hmm.
then you're on the street, but you got this $20,000. Next thing you know, when the money's gone,
Yeah. Then you got to go back on assistance.
then you got to go back on assistant, then
it's-
and the most vulnerable time between 60 and 65. That we could learn from our native friend there. They respect the elders, but between 60 and 65, the most vulnerable time of our life that you really need the money to buy good food. So the New Brunswick government is saying, social development, okay, happy birthday, you're 65, bye-bye. Then the old age pension clicks in the federal government.
Right.
It's the responsibility of the federal government. Bye-bye.
Right.
But then because you didn't eat well those 5 years, the provincial government's going to take care of you anyway. You're going to end up in the hospital.
Yes.
And so in the long run, the provincial government is not saving money at all.
You are summarizing my argument better than I could.
Well,
right?
I should be the no, I don't want to be the ombudsman. I have to listen and listen.
It's an example. It's an example of. I'll give you another example of a policy area where this is also true. Homelessness.
Yeah.
Right? We know that if we want to help people get out of poverty, the first step in that has got to be end homelessness. That gives stability and the ability to plan and all this kind of stuff, services, help with all kinds of problems, education, addiction, nutrition, all these things, food security. It all has to start with a place to live, right? So you can say, oh, well, if we spend this money on giving these people's homes, we've spent that money. The savings downstream from having done that are a huge compensation.
But
for
the
that
problem
person.
is, what's your definition of homelessness?
Right.
That's
I
the
know.
problem.
It's always the devil's always in the details.
And I seen on top of me, there's a woman living on top of my place, and she had nice, beautiful flowers outside, people taking pictures, and she was nice, quiet. Upstairs, I got evicted. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't hear anything. And she was on drugs, but she was quiet. The toilet wasn't flush for 3 months.
Okay.
Plants, 4 or 5 plants in the bathtub. The sink was broken in half. The washroom sink destroyed in half.
Right.
Fly catchers, 6 of them off the ceiling in February. Marking flowers on the design on the wall.
Right.
And the garbage was piled up till the ceiling.
So that may be a mental health issue or an addiction issue or some
Drugs.
combination. Yeah.
Because when you're on crystal meth,
Sure.
you don't give a damn about nothing.
No,
I mean,
that's
and
right.
and I don't know how. Like I interviewed a guy yesterday, Robbie McDonald. The only rehab he has is when he goes to jail.
Yeah.
He's forced to go to jail.
Right.
They should take a guy like that and bring him in front of his classroom, pay him,
Right.
and explain to the kids what crystal meth does to you.
So there's a good example, which is both prison, jail, and hospital are incredibly expensive ways to help people.
Yeah.
Right? They're incredibly expensive, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking in a hospital bed, let's say $1,000 a day is not at all an unrealistic expectation of that. To jail somebody for the year is tens of thousands of
Yep.
dollars. Tens of thousands of dollars. So but if I were to say to you, well, let's spend $5,000 more to help keep this person out of jail, suddenly people say, well, why, you're bleeding heart, why are you doing that? All
He
this sort of
shouldn't be
thing,
in jail,
right?
shouldn't break the law in the first place.
So the argument I try to make to people sometimes when I'm talking about the policy of this is I say, I'm not asking you to use your heart. Pretend you don't have a heart. Just use your head.
They must be like me, Scottish, no heart.
No, but just, you and I both, though you have a heart as big as all together, but use your head and ask yourself, which is the better use of public funds, right? Which is the smarter thing? Just pretend you don't care about people. Pretend you only care about the money. Which is the smarter use of public funds? Because you want to spend your money effectively. And if you end up being, well, what's the expression? Penny wise and pound foolish. You might save yourself a few $100s on the prevention side. You'll pay for that with thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on the enforcement or the
We
correction
have
side.
to tell the kids they could try drugs, but don't try crystal meth. But how do you tell a kid, oh, it's all right to try drugs, but don't try crystal meth? I talked to a cop once, I won't mention his name. He made sense. You try cocaine? I tried cocaine once. I tried acid. I tried magic mushroom. That's what happened to me. I haven't been the same since.
Right.
So, no, but I mean, the cop goes to the school class and say, try cocaine? You could try cocaine 3 times. Marijuana is legal. Acid? You could try acid. You might try acid twice.
Mm-hmm.
But crystal meth, you will only do it once, and that's it. Like you might do it twice, 3 times, and come back. But crystal meth, only once, and you're done.
You're done.
It fries the brain cells forever and ever and ever, and you're not coming back. And how do you handle people that are on the street this winter because of Corona? King's Place, they're not going to be there. Library, they're not going to be there. I said you put them in like a padded cell, but under the human rights, whatever, the Mental Health Act,
Yeah.
you can't do that. But if they're in a cell, and you give them the crystal meth in there, and then they're in their, it's like they're performing in front of an audience of 20,000 people. That's
Yeah.
how, and they're got their own high in that room. I know you can't do what I just said,
No,
but
no,
I
but
don't
I'm
know how.
Right.
There's no.
Like if there was a methadone for crystal
I was
meth.
just going to say no,
Like
but
that,
methadone don't count with
Right.
crystal meth.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say that, but I mean,
Like I don't know because this is not a field I know a lot about. I'll tell you something now, which may surprise you. I've never taken anything like that. I've never even taken a toke of a marijuana.
come on! Don't start the bleeding heart here.
Seriously now.
You,
And
what
I
am I
believe-
talking to? Blaine Higgs
And
here
I-
or Charles Murray?
And I believe I'm not a perfect person. I have made many mistakes in my and I.
Of course, you're from St. John area.
And I believe in the legalization of marijuana, and because of my time as a criminal defense lawyer.
Yeah.
But I myself have never even had a toke of marijuana, not in my entire life.
You should try it.
I won't reel it out for my.
Lay
retirement,
back in the backyard and have a
but-
joint. My
But,
God,
but
just see.
so here, my question to you is, because I don't have a lot of insight into this. For me, I know myself well enough to know I can't try anything like that because I don't know if it would get a hold of me or not. So that's my solution,
Yeah.
right? But I have the advantage, which is I have a solid, stable family. I have a good job. I have education. My brain works reasonably well.
Yeah.
My life is not a failure
No.
in any objective way of describing it.
From a guy that was a talk show host, that you end
Well,
up
exactly. I
pretty
mean,
good.
but I love my life, and I have people around who care for me, and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. So for me, I'm not looking to escape from the reality of my day-to-day life. My day-to-day life is pretty great. So my question to you is, it's different. You and I and some friends or whatever, we get together and have a beer. Okay, that's a different thing. I think we're just relaxing. We're having a good time.
Yeah, chill out.
And I think maybe marijuana use is kind of like that too. But when you're talking about crystal meth, which is what you're talking about, I think, but again, I say this with no training or expertise. People are trying to escape something, right? They're trying to get away from reality. They're trying to find a feeling that they can't get in their ordinary lives.
It's like the only time they're happy is when they wake
Right.
up the 15 seconds in the morning before they realize they're still alive.
Right,
Then
so-
they don't worry about the problem that 15 seconds.
So I don't know how to solve that problem because I just don't know. That to me is such a deep well I don't know what you do with it. Like, I don't know what the solution is. But I do think the more people you place in a better situation, the fewer people will go that route. That's not a cure. That's not a solution.
No,
but
no, no.
it helps, right? But I really don't know the answer to this, because to me, this is something that you need a real expert in.
It's all the world. It's a world problem. Anyway, we're
Right.
just behind the time here in
Yeah.
New Brunswick. How the hell did we come from pension and welfare to crystal meth?
Well, I'll tell you something.
Do we both have ADHD? We just fly all over the place?
But you know what? Here's the reality about the crystal meth thing, okay? Because I do talk to enforcement people. This is a huge problem.
Oh, yeah.
But because it tends to victimize the poor and the marginalized of society, there's less attention to it than would be otherwise. And it's also, like many tough problems, it's one that I don't know what the answer is, right?
Well, society, like, just at the time that those damn liberals, I'll never forget them because I'm Scottish, when they laugh at prisoners walking home. And you got involved in it too.
Yeah.
And the liberals laugh at it. And I don't know what happened. That's another thing. You're the
I don't
ombudsman.
remember them laughing at it, but go
And
on.
the Minister of Transportation, the Minister of Public Safety, and liberals, they were just, just don't break the law. So you have issues like that.
Yeah.
A person, which was a young woman, walking in the
Yeah.
cold in February. But
Yeah,
it's
that was
issues.
terrible.
But people look at that and say, "Well, just don't break the law.
Right.
There'll be no problem."
But-
And right now, another issue is taking people like me that will go like this. Okay, Charles LeBlanc, you're in charge of being a nuisance, which I'm a professional nuisance. There's the evidence. Next thing okay, Charles, here's the phone. Mr. LeBlanc, how do you plead? I'm in a jail cell.
Right.
Camera right in front of me. I don't know why I'm here. Have you got a lawyer, Mr. LeBlanc? I haven't talked to my lawyer. Okay, we'll set this for an adjournment till next month. But why am I here? Well, Mr. LeBlanc, we'll see you next month. Bye-bye. Click.
Yeah.
And you're in a cell, not face-to-face in the courts.
Right.
Now the province is saying, well, we're saving a lot of money this way. We don't have to transport the prisoner from
Right.
St. John, from Shediac to Fredericton.
Yeah.
And then you talk to the liberals. Oh, they think, well, but the majority of people say, well, you just don't break the law.
Right. So
Then you get lost in the system. And another thing you should investigate, the government has, I'm sorry, I didn't have my coffee. You got a coffee here? The coffee? No.
No,
Just
I
to
don't
wake
drink
me
it.
up.
well, I got a Red Bull, but I wouldn't recommend it to you.
Do you have Red Bull?
I do have Red
You
Bull.
drink that shit? Oh my God, the ADHD, wannabe ADHD drink. You turn around, boy, this is full of it. Red Bull. I took a drink of that once, I almost puked. The government, they tell people on the website who's going to appear in court. Did you see that? No, they have a
I'm
website.
aware of it. I mean, I haven't seen that website,
Everybody,
but yeah,
everybody appear in court. It's going
Right.
to be. It's on this website.
public docket.
But they don't give the verdict. They don't give the verdict. Nobody knows.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If you don't have an Irving employee in that courthouse,
Right.
and now with Corona, we're not allowed to go in there.
Right.
We don't know. This is like a form of justice system, like China. It disappears. How come you don't investigate that?
So I want to talk to.
Boy, we're wound up on the Monday.
I want to come back to a point you made about criminality.
Which
because-
one?
Well, you've been a number. Because there is a certain sense in the public where people say, listen, I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that break the law. If you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. And their attitude is, listen, I don't care how good the food is. I don't care if they have any education programs. I don't care how cold the jail is, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of their approach, which is, listen, there's a lot of people out there who aren't breaking the law. I'd rather we help them than we help any criminals. That's their attitude. So there's a couple things I would say about that. One is that is a very short-sighted attitude, because every criminal, barring a very few, is going to come back out into society.
Yeah.
So if you are wanting them to come back out worse than they went in,
Yeah.
and being a larger danger,
Put a person with ADHD in jail for drink that Red Bull for 6 months.
you want them to be a bigger danger to
Yeah.
the peace and to property damage.
Piss
and
them
to-
off.
Then that's the way, right? You're going the right way.
Yeah.
But the second thing I would say, because the example you gave is a good example of it, is what kind of criminality we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, the case of that individual you're speaking about, her thing that brought her in front of the authorities was panhandling.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but I've never seen a movie where the great crime that was committed in the great coup of the heist movie was panhandling, okay?
Just Fredericton.
Panhandling is a survival behavior,
Yeah.
okay? It's not a criminal behavior. I understand people can be a nuisance and that sort of thing, and I'm not justifying that. But what I'm saying is that I've never in my life been so poor that I thought the best thing for me was to just ask strangers for money.
Same here.
But I hope, if I ever reach that point, that I won't have people treat me like a criminal because that's happened, right? Because people are going to, if you place me in a situation where you say, Charles, in order for your family to get food, you're going to have to go into this supermarket and shoplift bread. I can't promise you I'm not going to steal that bread.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I need to do to help my family get through the day. Okay, if they need food, my kids are going to get food. I would do a lot of things before I would do that, right? I'd take a lot of jobs and do a lot of stuff before I do that. But the point is, when you say, well, and I'm not saying you're saying it, but the people say, well, she shouldn't have done the crime. If the crime is panhandling, I think we could start to recognize that maybe this isn't a master criminal and a threat.
These are, you already seen the video. I mean, did you see the video when I showed up the Brad Woodside event there? And then there was goodbye party, and the woman said, do you have a ticket?
Right, that's quite a long time ago.
Yeah, that was three years ago this week, and maybe 4. But it don't matter how long it was. There was 400 people there, and I look at the list. All lawyers.
Sure.
All lawyers.
Yeah.
3/4 were lawyers.
Yeah.
These are the people. Then there was a fundraising for Portage. They had this kid speaking. Oh, it's so nice. These are the people making decisions. It's just like the reason I'm here was at first with this video before our Red Bull and ADHD conversation turned into crystal meth.
Right.
These are the people making decisions. That people that hit 60, a good idea is to take the pension. These are the people that don't give a rat ass about what's going. These are the people making the decision, and that's scary for justice and everything. That is they're called snobs, and to have that. And like, I'm coming up with a series this week. I already did. I sent it to the chief, Roger Brown, and last year. And the justice system is so corrupt against the poor. We don't have the right to a lawyer. You're charged with a summary charge. I told that to a cop. He said, that's not right. I said, no, you're right, Charles, when you say there's no preliminary hearing. But he said, you have the right to a lawyer. No, you don't. New Brunswick Legal Aid will tell you. It's a summary charge.
Right.
Therefore, there's little chance of you going to jail, even though, boy, am I wound up this morning. Thank God there's no secretary. That's why there's nobody here. We can holler as much as we want. There's little chance of you going to jail. He can still send you to jail for 6 months.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
You plead guilty. You got, you don't have, I mean, but is it like this all across Canada?
Well, I think the point you're making, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but I think the point you're making, which is a point that I think we have to recognize, is we think about a lot of things in our society a lot of ways, but the thing that we should recognize is economic power is the most important power driver in the society. So people with money have an experience of our society which is so dramatically different from people without money, it's almost like they don't speak the same language. Right? And you need translators who speak between
communication.
Who speak between those two communities, because you cannot say, well, if it were me. It isn't you. And I mean, people like to use the word privilege now, right? That's kind of a buzzword now, right? But my entire life, I've never had to make those kind of choices, right? No. And I didn't grow up in wealth at all. I grew up in rural New Brunswick, and I lived in places where we didn't have indoor plumbing and so on and so forth. But there was always food on the table. I had a stable home environment.
It turned out
I had a good education. There were people that loved and cared about. Like, those to me are all the building blocks of my life. I can't imagine what my life would look like without.
But
any
some
of them,
people would be
right?
very, very fortunate if they would tell, oh, I just talked to the ombudsman.
Right.
I had a meeting with the ombudsman or the local MLA.
Sure.
Oh, I just talked to the local MLA.
Yeah.
But for them, that's a coup d'etat.
Yes.
Which, what is a politician? What is the ombudsman? They're totally, it's like a psychologist. All they do is listen and listen and listen. Because I can't shut up. That's why I'll never be the ombudsman or a
I try to do a
politician.
little more than listen, but you're right. Listening is a big part
Exactly.
of it, right?
And they feel very fortunate. But to have the step to meet with the ombudsman or to meet with their local politician, they have to talk to the receptionist. They have to talk to the executive assistant. They have to talk. Then voila, there's finally, oh, I'm all excited.
Right.
And they think that their problem going to be resolved by talking to the high person. But there's no, when I was in the courts too, communication. There's no communication. The minute you don't have a lawyer, they look at you like you're some kind of piece of shit. And we don't have the right to a lawyer. I mean, for my case, to be falsely accused to be a pedophile by the Fredericton police, you know the whole story, raided my place, and next thing you know, I'm ordered to pay $3,000. But sorry, we're jumping. See, I even smelled that Red Bull, and it gets me going more. Get that shit, throw that shit out the window. DOG, get him. So, no, but I mean, you turn around, there's no communication.
Right.
And that's the problem. Like you just said, the high level person and the low level, why should the high level lower themselves to talk to me? The only reason they talk to me is I have a website.
Right.
And I know some people.
Exactly.
But it took years. This used to be brown.
Right.
It took years.
Yeah.
But,
But
your turn.
You're right in the sense that a job like mine, a post like mine, you ideally have a foot in both worlds, and you try to translate between those two worlds. But
Battery's going to die maybe, so go ahead.
the reality is there's thousands of people that contact our office each year, and it's the staff, the women who take those calls and these are New Brunswickers who are trying to help other New Brunswickers. They're the people that are really doing that, right?
Yeah.
Now, when people say, "Oh, I got to meet the ombud or the ombudsman or whatever," and I hope they're not feeling too intimidated by that, but I'm also hoping they're not feeling too impressed by it either, because the reality is, it's the people, the team that I've assembled over time, that part of which I inherited and part of which has been built. They're the ones that are doing the investigative work with some guidance and hope and support and so on and so forth. And then, at a certain point, we present that and we try to make the best case to government for the change and hope to convince them to do the right thing. And we do a lot of the time, but it's not a magic wand kind of job, right? It's a trying to make people see